Pizina
and Co.
Welcome to
Second-Hand Haunting,
where we read ghost stories from a second-hand book I found in a second-hand shop and try and make sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense?
Fun.
Sense.
Fun.
Sense?
Fun.
Yeah. Hey, Ollie.
Hey, Callum.
I think last week we teased the fact that we've got two more categories of haunting to go through that I really want to get to before we finish with this book.
2 categories.
Yeah, do you remember what they were?
I do not.
No. We had haunted schools and haunted castles.
I do remember. I was very interested to have the, should I say Sophie's Choice?
Oh, boy. Yeah, and we picked the woman who'd been haunted all her life, so slightly appropriate.
Oh, that's right, because it was 3 choices and I chose the third.
Yes.
And now we're down to 2 choices.
Correct. So we've got schools or castles.
It's tough. The fact is, I love a haunted school, I love a haunted castles. And to be honest, if there was even movies out there for haunted castles or schools, I would watch them both as well.
I'm sure there's plenty. But I don't have a movie for you today. I've only got this book. So
That's
which would
fair.
you like to do?
Well, I am going to say school.
All
I want to throw myself back many years ago when I was, in fact, in school.
And we might even find out what the Irish school system was like circa the late 1800s or even earlier. Because this book, again, is True Irish Ghost Stories by John Seymour and Harry Neligan, compiled of, frankly, insane stories that people wrote in after he put an ad out in the paper.
Looking forward to that.
Good. 2 stories of haunted schools have been sent to us. Both on very good authority, these establishments lie within the geographical limits of this chapter, but for obvious reasons, we cannot indicate their locality more precisely, that the names of both are known to us. Now, the geographical location it's talking about is Mugs Half. Mm-hmm. That's just the southern half of Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Yes, just a colloquial version. Cons Half is the north half of the island of Ireland, and Mugs Half is the southern half. Not to be confused with the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Well, what an interesting thing that you could potentially unpack there, Callum.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the north and the south and the fact that we get to learn something new.
Yes.
Because I did not know that before.
So Cons Half is named after, I think, Con of the 100 Battles. Mm-hmm. There's I guess think of Irish version of King Arthur, and you've kind of got the level of folklore this guy's at. And Mog was, honestly, I forget, I don't know, some mean wizard dude. Sorry, Ireland, it's been a while since I read this stuff.
Sorry, just to recap there for a second, are you saying that the name of the north was related to a knight and that the southern was related to a wizard?
Yeah, back in ancient history, these two guys divided up the island. So one of them took the north half, one of them took the south.
Oh, right, there you go. There you go. Oh.
Whether these guys really existed, I don't know.
I think that I would definitely want to be on the magic side of that arrangement. For any Irish listeners out there, please bear in mind that any statements that I make in this context are meant to be whimsical.
Unlike what we're about to read.
You don't know that.
Yeah, I do. The first of these was told to our correspondent by the boy Brown, who was in the room but did not see the ghost. When Brown was about 15, he was sent to blank school. His brother told him not to be frightened at anything he might see or hear, as the boys were sure to play tricks on all the newcomers.
Was that like a blank boarding school or just like a blank regular school? Or do we not know?
I think it's a boarding school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I know that if I was a ghost, I would be haunting a boarding school. You can get them at the dorms at night.
Because you don't normally have kids around in the spooky time of nighttime in a regular school, do you?
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can't accidentally mistake like a caretaker for a ghost during the day.
That would be difficult.
But not impossible.
With a cat. What was the caretaker?
No, I know what you're thinking. We are not going to Hogwarts.
I'm already there. Depending on whether or not I'm allowed to make those references.
He was put to sleep in a room with another new arrival, a boy named Smith. Oh, Jesus. Look, I know they've tried to anonymise the school, but were these boys actually called Brown and Smith?
Like John Smith?
Yeah, and Harry Brown. Like, that's very, very common names. Were
mean,
we doing Smith and Brown even back in the 1900s?
I imagine that there was a lot of general names, admittedly.
Yeah.
However, it was not uncommon for people to mask identities like that as well.
True. And if it's a Catholic boarding school, which this is Ireland, so
I mean,
it might well be, there's a lot of people with the same surname.
If you want to throw some flourish into the reading, then if you want to call them by other names, like, I've got no issue with that.
If we come across another Smith or another Brown, yes, but I'll stick with it for now.
Mr. Gobbledygook.
So,
Mr. Parrot.
Are you just looking around the room?
Can you see any parrots around here? Or can you also see any gobbledygooks?
Jesus. A boy named Smith was from England. In the middle of the night, Brown was roused from his sleep by Smith crying out in great alarm and asking who was in the room. Brown, who was very angry at being waked up, told him not to be a fool, that there was no one there. The second night, Smith roused him again. This time in greater alarm than the first night. He said that he saw a man in a cap and a gown come into the room with a lamp and then pass right through the wall. Was it Scrooge? I'm guessing the cap is a nightcap, right?
Do you mean like Ebenezer Scrooge, that is?
Yeah, Christmas Carol. But I don't know why that's the only guy I think of when I think of nightcap and gown and a lantern, but...
Just so you know, so far I'm on board. That feels like a school thing to do. If you were to look around this room, you would actually see up in the corner, we actually
You have a nightcap?
Oh, it was a nightcap, sorry. I was
Not a graduation cap, no.
I had a graduation, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, listeners.
Not a mortarboard, just like a big windsock of a hat.
Right. Yeah. But it does make sense to me that in a boarding school context, there would be old men in nightcaps from the whatever hundreds, 1800s, 1900s.
Yeah, from last year.
I don't have a great sense of fashion. Sorry, an older sense of fashion from those times. But from at least, like, I can see it. They're like a floating...
It is a good visual.
Thank you. It's a good visual. We've got a ghost, nightcap.
Lantern. Two scared boys, new to the school.
Yeah, dressing down.
Yeah, gown, which I'm assuming is a dressing gown.
Yeah, so it's like it's a one piece, right? The nightgown.
Yeah.
There's like one piece goes to the floor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'm with you. God, I could make a good cartoon around that.
Bring it on. Let's see where they're going. Smith got out of his bed and fell on his knees beside Brown, beseeching him not to go to sleep. At first, Brown thought it was all done to frighten him, but then he saw Smith was in a state of abject terror. So far, it does feel like a bit of a prank, doesn't it?
Well, also, I don't understand like why people would be that afraid of
a ghost.
Of a ghost in a nightcap and a dressing down. So, like
he's not doing anything.
Yeah, he's just wandering around the halls. He's not done a scary face or anything,
No, he's not done a spooky floating face.
No, it's just chilling. I don't completely understand why people would be afraid of ghosts in general. If they're not poltergeists, they're probably just doing their own thing, like enjoying the afterlife. Although, given the context...
You haven't seen one yourself, so you don't know how you'd react, I guess.
Oh, sorry. Did you not think that I've seen a ghost?
Have you seen a dude floating through your wall wearing a nightcap, nightgown, holding a lantern?
No. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Not specifically that.
Have you seen any ghost that is humanoid?
No.
All right, then. So I understand what you have seen, which is the effects of ghosts, but have you seen a ghost? I haven't either. I don't know how I'd react.
No, okay, fine.
I would probably just pull the covers up over my head. But if there's someone else in the room, who knows?
But that tap, I tell you,
tap.
There was a tap, listeners, and Callum was there.
We've been through this tap business before.
And it turned itself on. Callum doesn't believe me.
Next morning, they spoke of the occurrence, and the report reached the ears of the headmaster, who sent for the two boys. Smith refused to spend another night in the room. Brown said he had seen or heard nothing. and was quite willing to sleep there if another fellow would sleep with him. But he would not take care to remain there alone. Okay, I think that's a reasonable request. Although, if you're in a boarding school, at some point you would be trying to take any opportunity you can to be alone. But on your third night, I guess not.
Do you know, honestly, especially a child of that age,
we don't know what age they are. Yeah, we do. It was about 15. Sorry.
I can quite honestly say I would have been looking for any opportunity to...
But careful.
Be by myself is what I was going to say. Although I was a loner child. I was someone that very much relished the time that I had to myself.
I still am.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I was an anxious child. I had my bouts of fearfulness or anxiety at that age, but I still preferred to be by myself. That being said, I didn't see a ghost with a nightcap.
Yeah.
Walking through a wall. Maybe I would have wanted company in that particular instance.
The headmaster then asked for volunteers from the class of elder boys, but not one of them would sleep in the room.
Do you think he smelled or no?
Or maybe they knew something he didn't.
I'm not sure if you want to cut that out later. I'm not sure that was very kind of me.
Oh, it's staying in.
Speaking as someone that has been the new kid in the school, it's hard to make new friends. Hard to get the elder boys on side.
Wonder how old the elder boys are. Like, are they just 16? Who knows?
I'm just thinking how laughable that was for me because I remember being in high school and the idea of literally talking to anyone else outside of my year was just like ridiculous.
Yeah. You don't. You stay within your class or your year level, right?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. It had always been looked upon, the room, as haunted. Now that's in scare quotes there. But the master thought that by putting in new boys who had not heard the story, they would sleep there all right. Okay, so even the headmaster knows this room is haunted. And he's just like, put the new kids in, they're not going to know, it's fine. We are in like horror movie territory here, right?
Horror movie territory / available space territory.
There's always a reason why the mayor from Jaws has to keep the beaches open, because this is the month that brings in all of the money for the town and keeps everyone's livelihoods going. You can't close the beaches.
Is that what happened in Jaws? I didn't watch it.
What?
No, I've not watched Jaws.
Man.
I saw the trailer, I understood the premise of the movie, and I said no.
Okay. Some years after, Brown revisited the place. So I guess nothing else happened in the room, right? If we're just skipping ahead a couple of years.
Depending on what you consider stuff.
And found that another attempt had been made to occupy the room. A new headmaster, who did not know its history, thought it a pity to have the room idle, and put a teacher, also new to the school, in possession. When this teacher came down the first morning, he asked who had come into his room during the night. He stated that a man in a cap and a gown, having books under his arm and a lamp in his hand, came in, sat down at a table, and began to read. That's so polite.
We were talking very, very briefly about Ghostbusters before, and I feel like that could be in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, then like if you get out of bed and try and reach to the door and then the floorboard creaks and the ghost turns around with spooky, scary face and screams.
I was thinking more of the librarian that was in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, doesn't that happen? Like they accidentally bump, or they make too much sound, and the librarian's like, shh.
And then she goes,
and then they make too much again, and it just goes like,
yeah. Honestly, I don't think this ghost is malicious at all. I think
it's just trying to find a place to read.
Just trying to find a place to read, and just wants to be understood, wants to be accepted.
Yeah,
you know.
He never finished the book in life, and now he's trying to just finish the book.
Is that how the ghost may move on, if they just let him finish the book?
Oh, maybe. That's a nice thought.
Huh. It's War and Peace, and he's just like... forever.
He's there forever. He knew that he was not one of the masters, and did not recognize him as one of the boys. The room had to be abandoned. The tradition is that many years ago, a master was murdered in that room by one of the students.
Wow, it's getting interesting.
Yeah. The few boys who ever had the courage to persist in sleeping in the room said if they stayed more than 2 or 3 nights that the furniture was moved and they heard violent noises. The end.
The end?
The end of that one. I was hoping we'd find a little bit more about the murdered headmaster there.
Just so you know, I love that story. I know it wasn't overly exciting. I know that the headmaster didn't attempt to kill any of the students, unfortunately. But
no, the students attempted to kill a headmaster. I wonder why. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Exam time? I mean, what?
Sure, yes, sure, yes. His exams were too hard. Let's go with that.
We can only but wonder what Callum actually meant. So yeah, I genuinely thought it had a nice sense of whimsy about it, with the ghost with the nightgown.
Yeah, is it a prank on the new kid? Is it a real ghost?
But it was really interesting to hear that the story perpetuated itself through different generations and inhabitants of the room.
Yeah, I keep trying to put new people in there and they still go like, there's a fucking ghost here, guys.
Although, small town, small community, I'm sure the potential original story could be like passed down. And,
yeah, it gets around, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure that the sense memory could be like implanted in their psyche so that even joining as a new student or a teacher, they could have heard through the grapevine somehow that was haunted by that type of ghost.
Think back to when you were 15 and in school. Like, if one person had even the merest thought that one of the rooms in a school was haunted, he would be telling everyone, right? That would be going all around the school. Everyone would know that's a haunted room. Like, even if the new teacher's not necessarily listening to all the inane nonsense that the students around him are saying, he'd pick up words of, like, haunted, nightcap, gown, lantern.
My school was haunted. No, I'm kidding.
What?
But what I meant to say was I wish my school was haunted.
Okay.
That would be awesome. Actually, I went to many, many primary schools, but 2 different high schools.
He kept murdering the headmasters.
Oh, look, they can't prosecute when you're that young, though. So let's move you on.
Ollie Borden over here.
But yeah, I went to a couple of different high schools. The first high school I went to was an old high school.
Okay. As old as schools can be in Australia, yeah.
Well, I don't know, like 70, maybe 100 years. So I think the first school felt like it could have been haunted and the second school didn't feel like it was haunted. But unfortunately, I didn't feel any presence at either one.
Shame.
I know.
Would you like to hear about a haunting in another school at least then?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Let's do that after the break. The second story was sent to us by the percipient herself and is therefore a first-hand experience.
Can I ask you, Callum?
Sure.
What is a percipient?
A percipient is someone who has perceived.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is something I have learnt today.
Me too, when I read this book. I had to look it up. But I guess these days we'd just say the perceiver. But...
I don't think I've ever said that in my entire life.
Oh, okay.
The perceiver, the perceived.
So yeah, this is just saying it's the person who perceived whatever happened here.
I kid you not. It has not come up.
Okay. I think that's totally fair. Considering that she was only a schoolgirl at the time, it must be admitted that she made a most plucky attempt to run the ghost to earth.
God, I love that word, plucky.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to see it in a 100-year-old book, but there you go.
Yeah. It's like upbeat.
Yes. Let's hope the story
would,
stays upbeat, shall we?
How would you define the word plucky?
I got to admit, every time I hear the word plucky, my brain first gives me images of Pluckaduck from Hey Hey It's Saturday. And listener, if you don't know what the hell that is, fuck it, go look it up. And
you basically exclude all American listeners.
Yeah, I know.
And probably Australian millennials are out too.
Yeah. Yeah, Hey Hey It's Saturday should stay in the 80s and 90s.
But I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, me too. I got to stay up past my bedtime. A good many years ago, when I first went to school, I did not believe in ghosts. But then I had an experience that caused me to alter my opinion. I was ordered with 2 other girls to sleep in a small top room at the back of the house, which overlooked the garden which contained ancient apple trees.
You paint quite a picture, I tell you.
I didn't write this.
I feel like there's something so relaxing about gazing upon ancient apple trees.
I don't know the last time I saw an apple tree, and I just realised how sad that is.
We used to have an apple tree in the back. It was a crab apple.
Oh,
yeah. No, that was why we don't have it anymore. Unfortunately, was chopped down in its prime because
It was haunted.
By bad apples.
Yeah. I don't know why that tickled me so much. Well done. Suddenly, in the dead of night, I was awakened out of my sleep by the sound of heavy footsteps, as of a man wearing big boots, unlaced, pacing ceaselessly up and down a long corridor, which I knew was plainly visible from the landing outside my door, as there was a large window at the farther end of it, and there was sufficient moonlight to enable one to see its full length.
These boots were made for walking, and that's just what they'll do.
One of these days, this run-on sentence will come after you.
Okay, fine, you ruined that. That's cool.
I know that we've made some fun of the people writing in before, of being like, obviously, like the upper echelons of society and have enough time to write this stuff, but I'm going to request that some of them take lessons in grammar and punctuation now, please.
Oh, what happened?
That sentence was enormous. There was no break.
No commas.
Too many commas. Too many.
Too many commas. Comma.
So, and yet, that is a fantastic visual again, of unlaced boots stomping up and down the corridor.
I must admit, I had the joke in the barrel for a while until you finished the sentence.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to sing the song. That's fine.
Trip just down the stairs.
Trip down the stairs and then I become a ghost.
Oh, heck.
It's okay if it was 200 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Make fun of anyone who's dead. After listening for about 20 minutes, my curiosity was aroused. So I got 20 minutes! You know what? Actually, if it's the middle of the night and you're hearing someone stomping up and down the corridor, how long do you think you would give it before you go see what's going on?
I'm just trying to reel back from the timeline of this. Let's recap for a second. We're a young girl.
Yep, so we're a young girl. We don't exactly know her age. She's in a small room at the top of her schoolhouse, we assume, with two other girls. And she's hearing big, clompy, unlaced boots stomping up and down the corridor in the middle of the night. However, there's moonlight coming in through a large window, so she can see all the corridor if she cares to look. But she hasn't yet, because she gave it 20 minutes of hearing someone stomping up and down before she went to have a look.
Bearing in mind, listeners, we're in a time where there wasn't a light switch as well.
True, there's effort to get up and go have a look.
Not only is it effort, but like you'd have to find the equipment, right? Like, you know, you have to get up.
Grab a match, grab a candle.
Or, you know, potentially a
lantern.
Lantern, yeah, I was thinking of
a nightgown, a nightcap, walk through a wall.
Finally, find the gardener stomping through the corridor.
Yeah. Having said all of that, how good do you think her grasp of time was? Because I'm sure, as a kid, I was like, ugh, Dad, I've been here for 20 minutes. And it's been like 2 minutes.
Sure. Well, I honestly can't say. And it's hard to grasp time based on memory as well. Because if I was to tell you a story of something that happened to me when I was, let's say, 13, and yes, that is a substantial amount of time ago, I would be reluctant to quote any time period.
Yeah.
That
exactly how long were you waiting in that waiting room? A while.
24 hours. No, so...
Forever.
Mom. So I think that it's hard. And I think the other thing that's difficult, there is practically zero visibility. Like, you have no idea how long it's going to take them to get out.
There's not a clock on the wall telling her what time it is. Or maybe there is. I don't know.
And, you know, we don't know who could be trudging through the house. And God knows that anyone caught trudging out through the house may
have good or bad reason for being there. The little 13-year-old girl does not want to find out.
That sounds very scary. But what I was going to say was that if it was for some nefarious reason, they're not going to admit to it. So, you know, ghost.
Yeah. Either way, after what she claims is about 20 minutes, my curiosity was aroused, so I got up and stood on the landing. The footsteps still continued, but I could see nothing, although the sounds actually reached the foot of the flight of stairs which led from the corridor to the landing on which I was standing. So I think the footsteps are coming like right up to her, but she can't see anything. Suddenly, the footfall ceased. Pausing at the end of the corridor, and I then considered it was high time for me to retire, which I accordingly did, carefully closing the door behind me.
That's it. I'm going to bed.
Yep. Fuck this. I think that's fair. I mean, what else are you going to do? Good call. Girl, whose name we do not have.
Girl 1. High time I went to bed and
ignored
slumbered
everything that happened tonight until someone asked in my local paper, hey, have you got any ghost stories?
I heard some footsteps that came right up to me.
Oh, wait, we're not finished this story either, dude. There could be more footsteps.
More footsteps?
I don't know. We'll see. To my horror, the footsteps ascended the stairs, and the bedroom door was violently dashed back against the washing stand, beside which was a bed. The contents of the ewer were spilled all over the occupant, and the steps advanced a few paces into the room in my direction.
But still no visible person, I should say. Visible ghost.
Correct. Still nothing visible, but this is obviously poltergeist activity because the footsteps belong to at least something that is capable of opening doors really, really strongly.
Foot poltergeist.
Also, I do just want to mention, I don't know if you know what a ewer is, but it's a jug full of water, so it's dumped water all over someone in the process too.
For the record, I did not know that. That was learnt information.
Me too. I had to look it up. I left myself a little note, and I did not want my time to have been wasted.
Us
selfish?
Wasting time? How absolutely dare you?
A cold perspiration broke out all over me. I cannot describe the sensation, but I think you just did.
For those at home, I think that's a cold sweat.
Yes, correct. It was not actual fear. It was more than that. I felt I had come into contact with the unknown.
The great unknown?
Let's say a lesser unknown.
The lesser unknown.
Look, it's an unknown that at least has a capital U.
Yeah, it's the cousin of the great unknown.
It's the... What was about to happen? All I could do was to speak. I cried out, "Who are you? What do you want?"
A boot that actually fits.
The hand-me-downs are coming for you.
If only someone could buy me a proper fitted shoe, then I could move on to the next life. Whenever I think about these stories, all I think about is like that they hung in our reality existence as a ghost before moving on. But to like what anyway? You know, if it's hell, may as well stay here, right? Like
that's an interesting thought. Is that what the ghosts are avoiding? They know that the next place they go is not going to be better than where they are now.
Tell you, I'm definitely going to heaven. I'm going to be all about it.
Calling it now, huh?
Calling it now.
All right.
Yeah. Heaven bound.
I'll see you haunting me then.
I just, I think in the grand scheme of things, I'm not Hitler, you know.
You think Hitler would have been a podcaster? No, moving on. We can't.
We definitely can't. I mean, like, he totally could be, but, like, we definitely can't.
He would have been. He absolutely would have been. He used radio like no other. How or when my ghostly visitant disappeared, I never knew. Suffice to say, my story was no nightmare, but an actual fact, of which there was found sufficient proof in the morning. The floor was still saturated with water. The door, which we always carefully closed at night, was wide open. And last but not least, the occupant of the wet bed had heard all that happened, but feared to speak and lay awake till morning. Okay, what about the other occupant of the room? Did she just sleep through it all? She must have done.
She wasn't the one having the fever dream.
Yeah, she was the one clomping about in big ol' unloose boots. Naturally, we related our weird experience to our schoolmates. And it was only then that I learned from one of the elder girls that this ghost had manifested itself for many years in a similar fashion to the inhabitants of that room. It was supposed to be the spirit of a man who, long years before, had occupied this apartment. The house was then a private residence, and had committed suicide by hanging himself from an old apple tree opposite the window.
Oh, sounds legit. Obviously, you went up to an older girl and you said you heard some stuff.
Yeah.
And surely the older girl wanted to give you the absolute facts of what she knew and was not winding you up at all.
No.
No, that would be ridiculous.
I will at least give the elder girl credit.
Will you?
For taking the fun little fact that the shoes were unlaced and making it a hanging that killed the man.
Okay, you're right. The elder girl is creative.
Yeah. Needless to say, the story was hushed up, and we were sharply spoken to and warned not to mention the occurrence again. Some years afterwards, a friend, who happened at the time to be a boarder at this very school, came to spend a weekend with me. She related an exactly similar incident which occurred a few nights previous to her visit. My experience was quite unknown to her. The end. Oh, bless you.
Sorry.
That's okay. You allergic to coincidences?
I'm allergic to elder girls spouting off stories of hanging by shoelace.
Because let me point out here that this new girl, this new friend, the experience isn't going to be unknown to her because the original girl told everyone at the school that this happened.
Just for the record, you have to leave a sneeze in there for the rest of this story to make sense.
Yeah, I'm just muted a bit. It's fine.
I just thought that was a classic. That's such a classic. I'm surprised they even included in a book like that. But I mean, I guess this was a book that included the stories verbatim.
Yes, yeah. So these stories are basically it's a copy paste of what the people wrote into the newspaper, minus an identifying name here or there.
Sure, but if we played that same scenario out in a TV show, for instance, yeah, I feel like the audience would know pretty quickly that the elder girl was winding up the younger girl.
Yeah, right.
It wouldn't be something you wouldn't even think about it. The younger girl would hear footsteps. They'd go up to the elder girl and say, "Oh, I heard these footsteps." And the elder girl was like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, did you?
Have you not heard about the ghost that hung themselves with their own shoelaces? Yeah, just spending the time to plait shoelace after shoelace after shoelace until finally.
What I do like about those two stories is the fact that we got one from the boys' boarding school and a girls' boarding school. Obviously, these shenanigans happen in both of them, but
I'm not discrediting the idea that could be ghosts in both of them. Just so
fair.
you know,
even keeping that option open. At least in the boys' boarding school, everyone's like, "Hey, some shit goes down here. These guys play pranks. Just keep an eye out." Whereas in the girls' boarding school, nothing happens until someone says something, and then the bullying begins.
No comment.
Schools, they haven't changed a bit, have they?
You may want to hoist yourself on your own baton there, but that's fine. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah. There are many other tales in this book. Some of them might even be from schools, but I like that little double.
I really, really enjoyed the stories from today, Callum. I really enjoyed the story of the ghostly figure that was going through walls in the nightcap and the nightdress. I think, is it called
nightgown?
Nightgown, sure. Yeah. And I also really enjoyed the story of the loud boot.
Clumpy boot man.
Clumpy boot person that was...
Good point.
That was going up and down the stairs and then smashing open the door. I felt like I was right there with the experiences as they were, experiencing it.
I'll give them that. They were well told, except for one particularly egregious run-on sentence. They were well told. The visuals were good. The ideas were solid.
Stories I would believe in a pub,
Yes, absolutely I would.
Especially if you got a few whiskeys into me.
Well, shall we see next time how believable the stories of hauntings in castles might be?
I'm so looking forward to that.
Me too.
Bated friggin' breath over here.
And listener, we hope that you join us again next fortnight on Second Hand Haunting.